Perfect Turd Podcast, episode 198, Lamar, Caddy Hack.
That sounds like another movie that was from the 80s that has to deal with the golf course and gophers and crazy personalities and stuff like that. Right?
Yes, sir. Well, a horror comedy, I suppose.
It definitely is a horror comedy. Definitely more of a comedy, which isn't
Yes.
a bad thing because, well, we'll get into that,
Yeah.
Joe.
Coming out
Yeah.
October 10th on digital and hitting the Blu-ray on the 24th of October. All right. Well, let's get right on into it. Lamar, first category. What do we think of the story?
Well, at Glory Hole Golf Course, a caddy mysteriously gets killed. This is bad because the owner of the Glory Hole Golf Course, he has a big golf tournament coming up, and it's big money. And they're like, okay, what are we going to do? We have to find out who the killer is. And in a weird way, from kind of causing what happens, the groundskeeper, right? He has like this chemical that he tries to kill the gopher that I guess maybe was responsible for the murder.
Well, I thought the groundskeeper had a new formula of fertilizer.
Yeah,
And that was causing the gophers to mutate.
That's what it is. So yeah, that's what caused. So yeah, it was basically the groundskeeper that his chemical, it turned the gophers into mutants that could kill people and eat people and stuff like that. But what happens, Joe? They bring in the niece of the person who owns the golf course to whip the caddies into shape to get the gophers, Joe. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to think about this movie, Lamar. Honestly, like, it's to me, there's like half of the movie I really liked, and half of it I was kind of like couldn't wait for it to be over.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like, I wouldn't say boring, but like a lot of stuff was stretched out too long. And
really?
I don't know. There was just something about it where I did enjoy parts of it, and parts of it I was like, maybe it's just too much for me. I don't know.
I think you have to be in a certain mood to watch this movie because we'll talk about the comedy, but it's like the movie has a lot of things that just happen. And for me, it was just funny that all these things happened in one freaking movie because we called it a horror comedy, but it's also a musical, Joe.
Yes,
we didn't talk about that. Yeah, it's a musical out of nowhere.
My biggest problem is that the parts that I love was when they were actually trying to get the gophers and they were interacting with the gophers. Anytime the gophers were on screen, I loved it. And there was so much other crap that had nothing to do with that I didn't like.
That's its charm, Joe, because it's so irreverent. It's so you got to watch this movie like in parts.
Yeah,
that's what you have to do. That's what I took it as, basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what are you giving
it, though?
I'm giving it a half point.
You're giving it. I'm giving it a 1. It's so goofy.
Well, next category is, what do we think of the characters?
Now, this is the part where I was like, because the characters, like, they're all kind of goofy, but it runs into the problem that there's too many of them.
There was, yeah. But there was really only 4 main ones.
But there's so many other ones where you're just like, who's this guy again? Like, I think I literally forgot one person. And I was like, who is that? Oh, that's the guy that was from the beginning of the movie and stuff. Yeah.
The main thing is the grounds crewman, the nerdy kind of caddy, the niece, and then the guy that owns the golf course. Those are like the main characters.
And that's all you need.
Yeah.
And then they add all these other characters, and you're like...
Yeah, but they didn't really play like a significant role, did they?
No, they didn't.
That's what I'm saying. They were side characters.
Yeah.
So you need some side characters.
But there were so many.
They have to interact.
And weren't there like 5? And they were all kind of like the same.
Yeah, I think, see, now that's the biggest problem is that with maybe the exception of the groundskeeper who's just doing his Bill Murray thing, and maybe the guy that owns the thing, the other characters are kind of nondescript.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. I give it a half point on this one too.
Agreed. Yes.
All right. Well, our next category, Lamar, is well, what do we think of the comedy?
This movie is so goofy at points that it
Yeah.
made me laugh. We'll talk about special effects, but that's a part of it. The gophers were hilarious to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
That was hilarious because it's like overall, this movie has a very cartoon
Mm-hmm.
feeling to it. Even in, I don't know, you probably picked up this more than I did, like the sound effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it was like actual cartoon sound effects for stuff that made me laugh. Um, and then we'll talk about later, referencing other films, Joe. That was
Yes.
funny.
They did a good job
Um,
with that. Yeah.
yeah, so I thought in general it's a very silly kind of funny. It's not like a clever comedy. It's kind of like Mad TV with golf and crazy
Yeah.
ass golfers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Gophers. I love that they almost like did like a little bit of a Gremlins thing where they were out of control and doing goofy stuff. I love that. Some of the jokes were funny, and then some of them, like I said, went maybe a little too long. Some of the jokes where it's like, okay, move along here, whatever. And it is more of a comedy than it is a horror movie. Let's just be straight up with that. It definitely is just, it's very silly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a one.
Yeah, I'll give them a one. It was funny.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, the next category, well, special effects.
The Gophers for me stole the show. They have like
Yeah.
these bright light up eyes and stuff like that. And I'll say this: was there any CGI in this?
Well, yeah, I mean, the eyes, I think, were CGI'd
The
actually.
eyes, but it wasn't like too much. It wasn't obnoxious like some
Yeah.
other movies
There
we've
was little
seen.
things here and there, I think, but not too much.
I feel like it fit with the cartoon aesthetic and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then you had someone's head gets exploded in a very unexpected way. That was funny.
Hmm.
So it was a mix of practical and then a little bit of CGI and special effects. So I enjoyed it, Joe. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think what they were going for, I think they nailed it. It's supposed to be silly, and it was. So I like it. And the Gophers were great. I wish, going back to the story, whatever, I wish there was more of the Gophers and less of the other crap. So,
That's a good point. Good
but yeah,
point.
I'll still give it 1 point.
One for me as well.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, now to round this off, our last category is all the homages to the 80s movies.
My God, if you saw a movie in the 80s, you probably saw something in this. I mean, you mentioned, and I didn't even think about this, there is a Gremlins
Yeah,
reference because,
Gremlins.
the Gremlins get a hold of props and they start doing things. Um, they have the song musical number and stuff like that. They have songs that are like right on the nose and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Back to like homages, they have a reference to Patton. They have a reference to the Deer Hunter. So it's like, and then of course the movie is called Caddy Hack. So like
Yeah.
we know what they're doing basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the overall, I think we talked about this before we came on. Overall, it felt like a group of friends that love all that stuff, and they came together with. Well, they have admittedly, if you watch the end credits song, that they came together with almost no money to make a movie and have some fun and pay tribute to some of the '80s movies, and for that, I think they did a really good job.
Yes.
So, 1 point.
1 point.
Yeah.
Do it. Yes.
Well, Lamar, we've tallied the score, and this movie gets a 4.25 out of 5.
It's a very funny, goofy, like we can't mention this enough. A group of friends got together and was like, you know what we should do? Let's make an 80s movie with, we'll just remake Caddyshack with crazy ass gophers that are mutants and stuff
Yeah.
like that, basically.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it is fun. It's very silly. I would love to have seen more of the Gophers and less of the other crap. But yeah, for the most part, it's a fun little kind of, B movie watch.
Do you think they can make a sequel to this one?
Yeah. Like, let's say the Gophers go back in time, Lamar.
So surprising, Joe. I know. Man, it's so original from you. My gosh, continue.
No, I'm not going to even say the rest. Forget it. Forget it then. Perfect Earth Podcast, episode 198, Caddy Hack. Peace.